So as I was live streaming last night, somebody sent in the chat and they said, Anton, or they sent the super chat and they said, Anton, are you going to respond to all of the lawsuits? And I said, what lawsuits are you referring to, my sir, my friend? And he said, all of the lawsuits against all of the celebrities. And I said, let me do a quick Google search. And so I did a Google search and it said Jamie Foxx, Axl Rose, Cuba Gooding Jr. It was a bunch of people. Jimmy Iovine. It said a bunch of people. And Eric Adams was not on the list, interestingly enough, because I wasn't expecting for any politician to be on the list. Eric Adams has his hands full. Eric Adams is fighting the people that's revolting against him for his budget cuts. He was a sanctuary city, and now he ain't a sanctuary no more. He getting accusations against Turkey officials and forcing different things and possible indictments or whatever like that. And then as I'm getting the show prepared about an hour before we go live today, I go to my local news and I see that within 45 minutes of starting this show, Eric Adams also had a lawsuit filed against him for sexual assault based off of the Survivors Act. Let's get into it. Before we get into Jamie Foxx, we're going to get into Eric Adams. First, let me bring y'all up to speed of what's happening with Eric Adams as it relates to his current accusations of misconduct within the state of New York's offices.
Mayor Adams has set up a legal defense fund amid the corruption investigation into his 2021 campaign. The fund will be monitored by the city's Conflict of Interest Board, which is an independent agency. According to the board, city employees are allowed to set up legal defense funds to raise money to pay for certain legal bills. Mayor Adams has not been accused of any wrongdoing. The FBI is investigating the mayor's campaign financing and its possible ties to the Turkish government.
Mayor Adams has set up a legal defense fund, and this is before he was even accused and had a lawsuit that was pending against him. Kumo has some things to say about him. Let me share that with you before we deep dive into the actual accusations of Eric Adams.
You know how they say it's not the crime, it's the cover-up? That is very often true because that's how investigators develop an understanding that you knew you did something wrong. A new report out today details a possible cover-up by a close aide to New York City's Mayor Eric Adams. All right? How'd we get here? Early November, massive federal corruption probe into Mayor Eric Adams' campaign comes out of nowhere. Nobody had heard anything about it. The feds are investigating what? Whether his staffers and the mayor were on the take from a foreign government, Turkey. Days after the raids, and there were a lot of raids, okay, the FBI goes up to Adams at a public event and takes his phone and other devices. So now we learn about this, right? His lawyers deny any wrongdoing. The mayor starts a defense fund. And his lawyers then say someone did act improperly. And they wind up throwing a staffer under the bus. Now, I don't mean that cynically. I'm saying that Rana Abasova winds up being offered up by the administration, okay? She is the longtime aide. She was the one working with Turkey. We also learned that Abasova was searched by the FBI and that she had reportedly lied to investigators. And then we learned that she told colleagues to delete potentially incriminating text messages, and that is what Adams found out about, and that is what they told the FBI, and yet, and this part doesn't make sense, that's why the FBI seized his phones.
Now, the question that we first have to ask ourselves is, on this Thanksgiving Day, I see y'all in the chat with the jokes about the Turkey Day, right? The first question that we have to ask ourselves is, because again, we know that being in a position of power, and again, I don't believe even for 1 second that all of these officials that are jockeying for and raising money for and spending literally millions and billions of dollars in advertising and campaign in order to get a $250,000, $300,000 job as the mayor of a city, or to become president of the United States, or to become senator and Congress members. They will literally have budgets that exceed millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions and even into the billions spent to become president, senator, congressperson, governor, mayor, city council person, etc., etc. And if you also notice, the overwhelming majority of all of these members that are a part of and are of elected officials are all practically rich. They have a net worth in the millions. So, me with my C student degree, thank you, Quick Octane. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. Me with my C student degree, I'm always trying to figure out where it comes back down to them really jockeying for position in order to have a lifetime position and being in the Senate, Congress, mayor, or whatever office, right? Because there are no term limits for most of these positions. What incentive do you have to become an elected official? You get an intense amount of scrutiny. They go through your life with a fine-tooth comb. You are then subjected to discovery when it comes to whether or not you spending the budget right or you doing things correctly. And then every single time they throw us clues and they say, well, listen, this guy is advocating for and pushing for something or someone over in the Turkish government to be able to secure property or do whatever, right? This person is advocating for or pushing contracts without a bid over, and it's millions and tens and hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars of government money and taxpayer money is being siphoned out over into these over organizations, and nobody tripped, nobody raises a finger, nobody has any alarms go off. The president of the United States of America make like $500,000 a year, but they spend billions and billions and billions of dollars in order to get these people elected. Okay, how does that make sense? How does that make sense? Right? Why is somebody so gung-ho about taking on a position, especially with public scrutiny, for so little money compared to what they can get in the private sector, considering what it is that they would make based off of their expertise and all of that, right? And so I'm always trying to figure that out. And then when I go through something like this, right, and Como is breaking down exactly what the chain of events is from November 2nd, and we not even towards the end of the month, in less than 30 days, the government and the FBI is raiding and they throwing people under the bus. They deleting text messages. They pulling his cell phone and his iPads in the middle of the street without even waiting till he get back to his office. And they taking his stuff. And then all of a sudden, he's starting to put together a defense fund in order to make sure that nothing happens to him. But that's not all. That's not all, ladies and gentlemen. Let's back up for a minute and let's deep dive, because as of yesterday, let me make sure that I get my article together. As of yesterday, and I just seen that this morning. You got to check out the headlines. And then this morning at 10:11 a.m. Eastern, which the show starts at 11 a.m. Eastern, but as of 10:11 a.m. published on multiple different platforms, reputable Fox, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, you name it, they published it less than 45 minutes prior to the start of this show. I just so happen to look up and I say, oh, wait a minute, Eric, not only are you being accused of and being investigated with regard to how it is that you're leveraging your public office in order to continue to reign in and reign supreme, you're also being accused, according to the Survivors Act, similar to how Diddy was being accused, of a 1993 sexual assault. You cannot make this up. This is breaking news. Nobody, and there's no articles on it as far as on YouTube. I am literally the first person to report this on this platform. Let me deep dive into it for you and give you the details. It says Mayor Eric Adams has been accused of a 1993 sexual assault in a legal action filed in New York City court, according to a report from The Messenger. The woman allegedly filed a summons Wednesday night Now, you got to remember that the Survivors Act expires today on Turkey Day. It expires today on Turkey Day. On Wednesday night in the state Supreme Court under New York authority or under New York's Adult Survivors Act that names Adams, the NYPD, and two unknown entities as defendants. Went on to say that Adams was a police captain. He'd been getting money for a long time. According to the filing, the two were working for the city at the time. He and the girl that's accusing him. Yo, imagine getting accused from 30 years ago. 30 years ago, he was a police captain. It's 2023. And in 1993, they saying that you was out there with your hands out there in the cookie jar. In a statement given to Fox 5 NY from City Hall, a spokesperson said the mayor does not know who this person is. Do y'all remember all of the chicks that y'all bust down from 30 years ago? Allegedly. Says if they ever met, he doesn't recall it, but he would never do anything to physically harm another person and vigorously denies the claim. The summons is a precursor to a complaint that will be laid out in detail of the alleged assault. The Adult Survivors Act took effect in 2022 and expires at midnight yesterday. It eliminated the statute of limitations for sex abuse accusers to file a lawsuit. So, Eric Adams is literally under assault. It's coming at him from every angle. And now I see why he's setting up a defense fund. Eric Adams is under duress right now, if you were to ask me. He got his hands full. Cardi B coming for him as far as him cutting the budget and 5% of the budget and millions of dollars that's affecting the police, sanitation, and schools across other agencies. He's being accused of misconduct when it came to giving favors, and then ex-aides is getting raided, and it's a lot of raids going on out there. He set up the defense fund, and then just to put the cherry on top, some hussy from 1993 said that we're going to leverage the very law that was filed in your state of New York in order to accuse you 30 years ago of feeling on my booty. My booty. Woo!